Throughout history, language has been used to control the masses, to glorify heinous dictators, to erase identities of a whole people, and silence opposition. Fascist leaders like Mussolini, Hitler, and Stalin all understood one simple rule: words could conquer just as easily as weapons could. But language has also been used to fight back, to demand justice for a wronged people, to inspire change across a whole entire society. Voices like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and John F. Kennedy use language not to dominate, but rather to unite, to challenge, and to lead. In fascist regimes, language is a tool of domination. Hitler's speeches use heavy repetition and short, powerful slogans like Ein Volk, Ein Reich, Ein Führer. Easy to remember, emotionally loaded, and impossible to ignore. The way Jewish people were described shows that representation in language can reshape a whole identity of a people. Nazi propaganda often regarded Jews as Ratten, rats, or Ungeziefer, vermin, words meant to strip away humanity. When language repeatedly labels a group as less than human, it becomes easier for society to justify hatred and violence. This connects directly to the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. If people constantly hear these dehumanizing terms, their thoughts and perceptions begin to change. Mussolini's speeches in Italy were theatrical and hyper-nationalistic. His body language matches bold, passionate language. He used imperatives and metaphors of strength to reinforce his authority, clear examples of power in discourse, where the speaker asserts dominance through tone, rhythm, and delivery. Stalinized weaponized silence. His regime erased enemies not just physically, but linguistically. People were removed from speeches, history books, and photos. This ties into discourse control, where language is used to erase identity entirely. If someone is no longer spoken about, it's as if they never existed. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches use metaphor, repetition, and religious imagery. I Have a Dream use anaphora to build rhythm and hope, while words like we and our created unity. This shows how power in discourse can challenge authority, not through force, but through moral appeal. His tone, register, and structure reflected elaborated code, giving his message prestige while staying emotionally resonant. Bernstein's code explains that formal codes can carry power in public settings, and King used this to reach broader audiences. He also redefined identity. His representation of Black Americans was not one of criminals, but of dreamers, children, and families, reclaiming identity through language. Malcolm X's tone was more direct and urgent. His rhetorical questions and confrontational style challenged both white authority and passive resistance. While King's speech was built to confront and unify, Malcolm's language created linguistic urgency, deliberate tension that demanded attention. This is also an example of code switching. Malcolm used restricted code and formal street-based speech patterns that resonated deeply with working-class Black communities. Unlike King, who softened his language to appeal to white America, Malcolm leaned into a raw truth, making his voice a symbol of empowerment for those unheard. JFK's speeches, on the other hand, show a polished, formal English can create trust and leadership. His language used standard forms, long sentence structures, and idealistic appeals. These features build credibility, a reminder that how something is said often affects how much power it carries. Throughout our studies, we looked at how language defines identity, how it enforces power, and how it reflects social class. But these just aren't ideas from history. We still see them today in different forms. Language still plays a role in shaping identity. Think about the way people communicate online, in music, or even in the classroom. The words people use become a way to show who they are, or who they're expected to be. Power still hides in today's language too. In politics, media, and even social media, the loudest voices often belong to the people with the most polished language or the most followers. What gets amplified isn't always the most truthful, it's what sounds the most authoritative. For example, in today's world, politicians still use language to control how we see the world. Phrases like fake news or war on values aren't neutral. They frame the conversation, define enemies, and guide public opinion. Just like how Hitler used repetition and identity-driven slogans, modern leaders use emotional, simplified language to unify or divide a people. And like Stalin, power still hides behind vague phrases such as "mistakes were made" or "threats to our way of life." These soften blame and redirect focus. From Hitler to Trump, from propaganda to political spin, we've seen that language doesn't just describe the world, it shapes it. It can create fear, erase blame, define identity, and control the narrative. Whether it's used to divide or to inspire, to silence or to empower, language is never neutral. It is always carrying power. And the more we recognize that, the harder it becomes to be manipulated by it. Thank you for watching.